lay off Zendaya. She's an adult. She knows what she's doing. She can make her own decisions. Sat down, I watched Malcolm and Marie a couple nights ago. Honestly thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it, but I saw before I sat down and watched the movie, I saw that the reviews seemed to be pretty divisive about the creative direction that the film chooses to take, and I think to an extent I understand. Maybe there's just not really a whole lot that happens as far as huge events in the movie. It's a pretty simple plot. Two people get home from right after John David Washington's character has a film debut, and they just spend the night talking to each other, essentially for 2 hours. But even though that type of filmmaking might seem sort of maybe boring to some, or is not a great vehicle to convey any sort of excitement throughout a film, to me it worked really well. And I think that a lot of that is due in part to how the film was shot. It's very simple. I mean, simple more than just it being in black and white. It's simple in the fact that a lot of its shots are still, and you're just essentially staring at two characters as they move throughout the scene. And I thought that created this sense of being a fly on the wall, and I'm a big fan of films that kind of just set the camera down and let the actors and the world around you take the story from there. You don't always have to be doing anything too overly creative as far as cinematography goes. And in its own right, sometimes that can be the right direction to take with your cinematography. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. And I think maybe, I don't know, possibly another aspect that people didn't really enjoy was the fact that this feels very much like a stage play. And it's written in a way where there's a lot of monologues, and these are just two characters basically talking for 2 hours. And the fact that it's all in one set, they just have one house, I think maybe that plays to the fact that it comes off like you're watching a Broadway show in a way. And to me, I didn't mind. I could see why some people may not think that it translated that well to the big screen or the small screen, depending on where you're watching this film, but I enjoyed its level of simplicity. And I think perhaps where it didn't wow a lot of people as far as the overall themes within the film, although they do go pretty deep, maybe on a surface level, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot there, but you can't deny that in terms of the characters, John Washington and Zendaya, I mean, this is a masterclass in acting with these two, and you could not have picked actors that had better chemistry than these two do. I mean, they play off each other so well throughout this entire film. All 2 hours, it's around 2 hours, give or take, a little bit here and there, but they play off each other so well that the film moves very well. And the only areas in which it starts to slow, maybe that's where people were seeing it, is when it transitions. And these transitions are because characters are moving the way they would in real life. They're just moving through a room and going to a different room, going to do something else. The camera doesn't always follow them, and I didn't mind that. But the characters throughout were so engaging, and John Washington in particular, and Zendaya certainly holds her own. She's a phenomenal actor. This felt like a vehicle for John Washington. He's given several monologues that either feel like maybe Sam Levinson, which he not only directed it, but he wrote it. Shout out to the writers, they deserve more credit. But John Washington's given these monologues where in some cases he's essentially fumbling over his lines, which maybe that's by design, maybe it's not, but it just makes it all feel so much more real as a level of authenticity. It all comes off as very natural. It's just two people having a conversation, and sometimes they hate each other and sometimes they love each other, and you can't really tell if these characters need to be in each other's lives or hate the fact that they've found one another. But in either way, it works really well, if that makes sense. I mean, there's certain scenes, John Washington's giving a monologue and Zendaya's just laughing as he's going off on these manic Kanye West style rants, and you can't really tell if that was just the camera rolling at the right moment or they decided to keep the cut that they had in there, even though it was maybe not exactly what they planned, but it just came off as more natural that it worked. And I think that's where Zendaya shines, where she plays off of John Washington's manic energy really well throughout this entire movie. And John Washington in his own right is just so good, man. The guy really shows that he is here to stay. And it, you know, look, it's in his blood. certainly got the lineage to be one of the best actors of all time, and this film is just him demonstrating how far he can take it, and it's really, really impressive. I think that regardless of how you feel about the story in this film, depending on how far below you want to look the surface or how deeply you want to dissect what the characters are saying, you can't argue that there's incredible chemistry throughout this entire movie, and that's absolutely a selling point. That alone, to me, is personally worth watching the entire thing for. And sometimes it slows down, and perhaps the film could have done well to be 30 minutes shorter, perhaps, but I think it still works in the runtime that it's given, and I found myself really, after the movie was over, still thinking about it like the next day, and that doesn't really happen that often anymore. I don't know, it feels like watching so many films not in the theater and just streaming them on your couch kind of doesn't let them stick with you very long. You're able to just run through them a lot faster than you normally would, but this one stuck with me. I found myself thinking about it the next day, several hours after the movie, as I was going to bed, still thinking about it. And I think that means the movie was doing something right. I appreciate that it took a chance to do something that maybe not everyone who sees it is going to like, but those who do enjoy it are really going to enjoy how the story is told and the way the actors are given a great vehicle to showcase their talents. And before I go, lose me with this Zendaya age gap stuff in the movie. Okay, first of all, not only is that stuff that happens in real life, but Zendaya is a grown woman. She's 24. She can make her own decisions. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you checking out the video. The like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you saw. I'm out.